Hello, everybody. So today we're talking about a question that's been on the tip of economists' tongues for some time, which is, are we heading to recession or not? And if we are going into recession, is it going to be something very painful like what we had in 2008, or is it going to be something a bit more light touch? So Guillaume, it feels like this is the most forecasted recession that hasn't happened so far. Why has it sort of been delayed?
Yes, that's a great question, Tom. We certainly seem to have come a long way. Earlier this year, concerns around regional banks and sort of banking systems, is going to be impacted by the sharp rise in interest rate that we've seen. And the big surprise is that actually most economies have been fairly resilient to that rise in interest rates. Having said that, it depends where you look. For example, if you look at the manufacturing sector, is much closer to recession in places like Germany, parts of Asia. But for the most part, developed economies are dominated by services, and this is still benefiting from the post-pandemic rebound in consumption and keeping the global economy afloat.
So the global economy, even though there's been really rapid increase in interest rates, it's been quite resilient. But are we sort of kidding ourselves? Is it a foregone conclusion then that we are going to have a recession and it's just going to happen at some point, but maybe just hasn't happened quite yet?
Yes, certainly an element of surprise is that higher interest rate is taking longer to play out than people expected, but it will have to bite eventually, because fixed mortgage rates roll off. Also, the corporate sector, they need to refinance their debt at higher rates. So that remain the main risk still, that interest rates still need to feed through the economy, and potentially interest rates have to stay higher for longer because it's been so tough for central banks to try and get inflation under control, that they will keep the pressure on it. And that's really what's leading economists to continue predicting a recession later this year or early next year.
So it's not easy though, is it, to predict a recession? And the world isn't quite as simple as maybe economists would like it to be. So maybe we could finish on a positive note, because we talked all about recessions throughout the whole thing. But what about a positive side? Is there actually a way that we could navigate through this without having a recession?
I think so. If you look at unemployment in the US, it's still fairly low, around 3.5%, and really still because that strength in the service economy is still actually creating jobs. So potentially a recession could be avoided, and even if there is one, maybe it's going to be a light one. Not the nightmare scenarios of 2008. Also, now a big difference, if we were to enter a recession, is that central banks have room to lower interest rates, given the interest rates have gone up so much. So, and they didn't have that option before. So there's definitely a bit of an escape ladder there, which means that that can mitigate the severity of an eventual recession.
Guillaume, look, thanks so much for your time today. That's all we have time for. Let's hope. Well, I guess one thing's for sure: time will tell. And let's hope if we do enter into a more recession environment that it is more light touch and isn't too painful for everybody. But thanks everyone for watching, and as always, then we'll be back again next week with another episode.